Hey there, you're listening to Scale to Sell, the business owner's podcast to grow and exit your business, where we share with entrepreneurs like you the tactical and practical things that you can do so that you can win at work and life. I'm Adam Burton, part of the father-son duo behind the Scale to Sell podcast, and I, along with my dad, Steve, and the rest of our team, we are on a mission to help business owners like you get the clarity they need to grow and exit their business successfully. Now, before we get into the episode, I wanted to let you know about the weekly Business Builder Thursday guide that we send out to our community of entrepreneurs. We include even more tactical and practical things that you can do in your business beyond what we cover on the podcast. Plus, it'll keep you up to date with when new episodes hit, give you some behind the scenes looks at the business, and let you know when we have some exclusive masterclass trainings available for you. Go to scaletosell.com, that's scaletosell.com, or click the link in the show notes and sign up for the Business Builder Thursday email. You'll get your free but valuable weekly guide each Thursday morning. Again, that's scaletosell.com, or click the link in the show notes below. So this is episode 6. This is internal versus external sales part 2. So don't worry if you didn't listen to episode 5 yet. If you're just joining us, that's great. We intentionally created them to be standalone, so you can go back and listen to episode 5 about internal sales later. Definitely go back and check out that one about the pros and cons of that part of the conversation. But we started last time talking about how some business owners, they might have thought about what they want to do looking internally or externally, but a lot of them have missed out on the opportunities of having the coaching, the insight to know what to think about, to fully consider, to make a fully informed decision when it comes to the sale of their business. And that's something we want to help them avoid the bad things, avoid the blind spots, and give some clarity around this when choosing between an internal and an external sale. And so this episode, we're focused on the external. So Steve, what is an external sale and why is it an attractive option for some business owners?
You know, an external sale, last time we said, it's not that complicated, right? Internal is somebody from within, external, somebody from without typically, right? So it's going to be a competitor, perhaps down the street, across the country. There's a lot of that going on right now. A great way to grow a business is to acquire a business, and many companies are doing just that. There's tons of money floating around out there, and they're acquiring baby boomers or whoever looking to exit that business. So it's an external sale, third-party competitor, private equity. Maybe somebody's leaving the corporate world and just wants to get out of the corporate rat race and they think they want to start a business. Maybe they got money in their pocket and they would rather buy an established business, of course, than start one from scratch. So external, outside the business, and there's opportunities there, but there's also many challenges as we learn with the internal sale.
Yeah, so that is a really good point about a good way to grow your business is acquiring. We see that in a lot of different industries right now, and there can be a lot of wisdom in that. So if you're looking to sell, that's certainly a number of areas to try to look at. So when we think about the pros of an external sale, the benefits of going that route instead of looking at someone internally, what are some of the reasons why someone should consider an external sale as a part of their exit strategy?
Well, now you're getting typically market value, right? But many people, I will warn you, if you're going to sell your business, you're looking to exit your business, many people will come in and give you a price. Maybe they're trained up in this industry. Maybe they've got tons of experience. I try to work with well-credentialed people. My point being is that some people will come in, like somebody recently was told that their business was worth $3 million and it was really worth about half of that, right? So an external sale, though, you'll typically, if you get it framed out right and everything lines up, you'll typically get all of your money or at least most of your money up front from an individual or a competitor. So they're typically, not always, but a lot of times better financed, and you don't have to worry about that like the internal sale where you're going to sell it to a family member at a discount. Here there's no discount because you don't know them. Perhaps you do, but you're going to get more money on average if you sell not within the business.
Yeah, that warning is a really important thing because we've had a number of conversations with business owners where as a part of that, like oh, they're, trying to entice you to make the offer sound so good, and you start going through that process and jumping through all the hoops that it takes to do an external sale, and there are hoops to jump through sometimes, to think that you're going to get one thing and then something else happens, that can be very frustrating, very devastating. But it is also true that typically, compared to an internal sale, you're going to be able to get more for your value because you're not just transferring it to a family member or something in that line of.
And private equity firms right now are buying up all kinds of businesses, anything that throws off cash flow, whether it's a roofing company, plumbing and heating, HVAC, dental practices, fragmented industries. You think about it, how many different plumbing and heating companies do you have in your area? There's a lot. And people try to consolidate that and acquire, and in many cases, they have money in hand to do it, especially maybe on a grand scale if your numbers are in the right category.
So you can maximize, or at least typically maximize what you're going to get as a part of the competitive sale process rather than if you're just doing an internal sale or transfer, which, going back to something that we talked about in the last episode with the internal sale, where you kind of have the risk of, is the company going to continue, and you'll be able to get your value over time from the individuals that you've transferred it to. This kind of allows you to protect and diversify your personal financial plan because, like you said, you're getting all or most of the value for the company up front as a part of your exit out of it. And so you're able to kind of take that, do with it what you need to as a part of your personal financial plan, and hopefully take the right steps to create the right type of retirement income for you in that plan. And if we're talking about 100% sale at this point, you're on to the next chapter of your life, which is pretty great, right? You're not having to worry so much about what's going on.
Sometimes.
Well, sometimes. That's another episode, though. We'll come back to that one. So what are the cons that someone should consider and to think about as they're taking that step in thinking about an external sale?
One, I would recommend that you have your own team because, a mergers and acquisitions specialist, an attorney. Well, I have an attorney. Unless your attorney specializes in acquisitions and the sale of a practice, a business, it's not the same person. A tax planner, especially if you're going to get a lump sum, a large lump sum all at one time. We don't want Uncle Sam to be a co-partner in there and get more money than they deserve. So one, have your own team. A downside would be is that continuity, that name of the business might not exist in a few years' time. And for some people, again, it's your baby. The key people on the team, will they stay around? There's things that you need to do to make, one, the business more valuable, and those key people, perhaps, as we talked about last time as well, on the internal sale, those key people, will they transition around? Do you want to take care of them? And there's things there. So some cases they won't stay. You want to make sure you have things set up, processes set up. You make people aware of the transition. That you're even if your team, your key people on your team get word that you're thinking about selling. Some people, if you're 70, 75, 80 years old, they know you're not going to work forever, or they should anyway. But will they hang around? Well, that's value when they're buying the business. That team, it's not you. You're exiting the business. It's that team. So there's things that we want to do. And if they don't hang around, the business can be less valuable. Who knows? They might leave you, go down the street and work for a competitor, take customers and clients with them, take other teammates with them, or go down the street and become a competitor and again, make your business less valuable and maybe the exit harder or impossible.
Yeah, that's certainly a challenge. It is, especially if you're not used to it. There's a lot of unknowns. If you're not used to being in the buying or selling of businesses, the negotiation process, like you were an executive producer on a movie, the Mergers and Acquisitions movie, and in it they highlight, a business owner who's worked hard, is trying to get their value from it, goes through this whole long drawn out process and isn't really aware of all of the things that go into it, and they learn the hard way that there's a lot more to it than they think. And so the idea that someone could just do it on their own or not have a team around them guiding them helping them avoid some of the frustrations and even the emotional difficulties of transferring out of the business. There's a lot to it that people don't always expect, and regrets that could come with that. When you look at the stats of when it comes to people selling their business, even the people of the 20% of the businesses that actually sell, they say that a year later, 70% of those people are dissatisfied.
Correct.
Right. They don't like how that process went down, and they regret having done it the way that they do it.
There's three components to a successful exit. First, you have to have your personal finances lined up. Secondly, the business finances. How much do you need to, walk away with net of taxes and fees from the business to commingle with your personal assets? But even when all those things line up, meeting with a business owner recently, and his wife, first trip in, we've been talking for about 9 months now, first trip in, she goes, he needs to have something to do when he leaves the work. And yes, you have to personally have, when those 40, 50, 60, 70-hour work weeks go away, what are you going to do, right? You got to have something personal. And that's why I think some cases people get the money out of it, but many cases they don't know what to do once they let go of there. And then sometimes you mentioned could be actually a partial sale. I think we might talk about that too. You don't have to 100% sell your business. You can retain some ownership even if it's an external sale.
Yeah, let's go there now. So we were basing some of the pros and cons, and as we said earlier, as if this were 100% sale of the business. But as you were just alluding to, that isn't necessarily the case, right? There's more flexibility, there's more options to it than that. So what are some of the benefits or the trade-offs that we see if you are not completely giving up control of your business, you're only selling a part of it?
Well, in many cases, if you're going to sell to like a private equity firm, they're probably going to want the majority stake in it in most cases. I know somebody specifically that sold 70% of his business. They were wanting to buy 100%, but he wanted to remain active in the business. And because it was a bigger firm buying him out, as many cases happens, he saw that, hey, they were going to invest some money. They were going to grow the business, and that retention of that 20, 30, 40% equity in the business, he could get another cut of the apple, so to speak, in the future or stay active in the business. But when you do that, your role is going to be diminished or changed. You're not going to be the boss anymore. You're going to be a vital key part of the team, but you're not going to be calling all the shots. So there are pluses and minuses. Give you something to do. The glide path to exiting, in my opinion, allows you to stay engaged and not driving your spouse nuts if you don't have anything to do anymore, and or keep the revenue going in case that's important, because you haven't lined up your personal and business assets. They don't line up quite correct just yet to allow you to sail off into the sunset and maintain that lifestyle that you become accustomed to over the last number of years.
That's a really good point, because the idea that exiting your business is this one-size-fits-all strategy is really not true. And this is why it is important to have a team of people who understand the pros and cons and how to go about accomplishing these different plans, because it gives you the option to figure out, what is it that I'm looking to create out of this situation? How can I protect not only the future of the business that I've worked so hard to build, but how can I take care of myself, my family, the people that I care about? And how can I do this in a way that's going to be helpful for my health and personally and financially and all of those things? When you have the insight of someone who understands what's going on and can coach you through those decisions, so you're not going into it uninformed or lacking, the understanding that you need to truly make the right kind of decision for yourself. The
scaling part of this conversation is equally as important as the exit strategy. And if you're just joining us or just getting focused here for a second, the exit needs to be planned from day one. I wish I'd have thought about that or knew about that back in the day. I do that the same thing when I build houses anymore. I haven't built one in quite a long time. My point is, the most recent house we built, right, it's been 16 years, but I didn't build it 100% to my taste. I wanted to make sure if we ever sold it, then it would appeal to more people and bring more value to that housing sale. Same thing to a business. scale it up with the end in mind. I think you say that from time to time, Adam.
We say it just a little bit, pretty much all the time. Scale with the end in mind. Have the picture that you want of what you're trying to create, and figure out with the right team, with the right help. That's why we're here, to try to get the plan of how you're going to get there. That is such an important part of this process. When you're making the choice between external sales and internal sales, you need to make an informed decision, and having the information that you can about what you're trying to create and how you can protect it is going to be key. So, key consideration for today, as you're thinking about the external sale, do you have an exit team in place? Because if you're going to do an external sale correctly, you're going to need a team of people to help you negotiate, the mergers and acquisitions people, the lawyers, the tax planners, the people that are going to be able to help you accomplish what you're trying to do, because this is not a DIY type of a project, right?
I would also add to that, if you're doing an external sale, internal sale too, you don't want to wait till the last second. You don't want to make the decision, I want to sell it, here in a month. This is typically because you got to make sure your systems and processes, let's get the business valuated. What's the estimate of value? See if you can walk away with enough money, but also make sure that business is best in class or as close as we can get to it, instead of at the bottom rung or even just average. So you can get the highest multiple possible. But yes, you got to be working on this for a while. I'd say 9 months to a year ahead of the actual exit from the business.
Yeah, if you're wanting to exit tomorrow, don't start planning today. Right?
That's what, if a health issue happens, then it forces that decision on you, and you woulda, coulda, shoulda have done things. So I would encourage you to look at it now.
Take the time to do that while you can. If you like this episode and you want to hear more from Scale to Sell, please follow the show on your podcast platform of choice, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or a number of other platforms. As a new and growing podcast, rating and reviewing the podcast is incredibly helpful so that more entrepreneurs like you can find our content and join our growing community. And remember, if you haven't signed up for the Business Builder Thursday weekly guide, check out scaletosell.com. We'll see you next time on the Scale to Sell podcast.